Hello there. Look at that. Hey, how are you? I said on the last one I would do some stuff where I talk more voices and do some voices and things like that. And so I just made this. This is going to be my new character one. It is, that's insane, isn't it? It's too much. I know you can't see if I go close because the focus is set. Anyways, that is a lot of work, cutting and pasting. I do all this stuff, myself. I find the things and then I cut around and I do it. And now there's like programs that do it all automatically. I found a program that you can just hit a button and it'll pretty much erase the background. But no, when I was doing all of these, I didn't have that program. So I went like meticulously through. But there's a lot of different characters on there. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't necessarily say, oh, it's me. And some voices. So when you come to the table, I like to do the voices for you all. And so I usually have one of these sitting there, and I will, if you come to a table at a Comic-Con, that is. Hello there, by the way. James Arnold Taylor here. And I know it said it on the thing. And so I like to do the voices, but there's a lot of new voices I added to these. But the only thing is it's kind of, they're all smaller now. So they're really small. Some of them are very small. So you might even have to have a magnifying glass to see some of these characters. I wonder if I needed to make them bigger, but there's a lot of characters I've been, and this isn't even everybody. This isn't all the characters I've been in my career, but it's some of them. It's certainly some of them. And there's some like I added, like Codename Kids Next Door. I was talking to D. Bradley Baker that I think he's doing a Comic-Con where they're doing a panel with all the Codename Kids Next Door, like, he and Cree and Ben Diskin and everybody. And I thought that, wow, how cool is that? Did you ever watch Codename Kids Next Door? I was in quite a few episodes of that back in the day. I was King Sandy. I think he was it was a little Johnny Test before Johnny Test. And then I was also the kind of Howard Cosell, the kid that did the announcing, the sports announcing. And it was like that. And a couple others on there. And then Johnny Test, of course. So I'm Johnny Test. You know what I do love is that, Johnny has been one of those ones that people kind of either love or hate, right? And more people, I think, have grown up with Johnny Test now. So whether you love him or you hate him, you grew up with him and he's there. I've just enjoyed being Johnny all these years. And I think one of the funnest things is when we go to a Comic-Con and, somebody's there because they want to see Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so I'm, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, did you know I'm also Jedi Master Plo Koon? Yes, of course. Koto Ya, the Force is strong with you. And then, that's cool. And then I'll say, have you been on Rise of the Resistance? And do you know Lieutenant Beck? Because I do his voice as well. And then, wow, they didn't know that if you go to Disney World. And so that's always like exciting. And then I'll say, what about Johnny Test? You know Johnny Test? And they're like, what? And I was like, Mr. Mittens and Hank Anchorman and Dark Vegan. I will get you Johnny Test. Ooh, toast. And Doc Beeble, try my Piles of Honey bar. And Senior Crabbo. Pinch. Those are on the newer ones. Have you seen the newer Johnny Tests? Look, I want to, there are a lot of people would be like, oh no, I haven't seen the new Johnny Tests. Go watch the new Johnny Tests. They're on Netflix. It's in a separate spot. So like if you pull up Johnny Test on Netflix, there's the original ones. And then there's a separate like page for the new ones because those are a Netflix original. And it's, I guess they call it a reboot, but it's all the same voices. It's all of us still doing the voices. And so it's pretty great. I think it's fun. It's a different animation style, which I think is really cool. But I think a lot of people got so used to the other animation style. They're like, oh, I'm used to that one. But check out the new one. There's also like an interactive movie. I think it's fun. A lot of different characters here. Let's see. I got Yondu. Did y'all watch the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon? I love doing that cartoon. We had such a blast. Now, speaking of Johnny Test and Guardians of the Galaxy, what do they have in common? Well, yes, I was in both of them, but so was Trevor Duvall. Trevor Duvall, one of my dearest friends in the world. I love Trevor like a brother, and he is such a great, talented man. He's got his own YouTube channel. Did you know that? Me, Myself, and Die. Like the roll of a die, like a dice. Dice is what I mean, right? And he does RPG stuff, and he does all the voices, and he plays the games just himself. And it's really cool, and he's got a ton of followers, and I hope that you would follow him and check out his channel. He's always putting out new content, and it's really cool. And so I love Trevor. And so Trevor was Rocket Raccoon, and I was Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I was also Cosmo, the telepathic Russian cosmonaut dog. Yes, it's good, yes. And I just saw one here. That's Avocados. They're George Avocados. and he on Scooby-Doo, and he said, "That's a vodka dose." And I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. And then, there's another one. There was at the last Comic-Con, someone was dressed as Hellboy. And I said, "Did you know I'm Professor Broom?" Sometimes John Hurt was Professor Broom, and I did his voice for him as well when he wasn't able to do it. And so there's a lot of characters on here. There's Tippy Doorman from Lego City Adventures. There's Stuart Little and Milo Thatch. So now whenever Michael J. Fox wasn't playing those characters, I would play them at times. David Kaufman did some of Stuart Little as well. David's a very talented actor, voice actor, and he did the voice of Stuart sometimes too. But we all, there's multiple guys like AJ Locascio does Marty McFly. And I've done Marty a couple times in some things, but AJ is primarily the one that did him now. And then I did, great Scott, I did young Dr. Emmett Brown, which was great. And then there's all sorts of characters on here. I have fun looking at it because it's kind of like looking at my resume and all the various characters I've done through the years. So it's just fun to look back and see. And then, of course, Ratchet. It's been like 20 plus years now that I've been Ratchet in 20 games. I think 20 games total. He's been in different games as well, but not just the Ratchet and Clank games. He's had cameos in games because I think the Ratchet and Clank games, there's been 15 or 16 of those. So. And then Mikey Kelly was, of course, the voice of Ratchet in the original. Somebody asked me about that before. So would I talk about that? Of course I would, yeah. Mikey was the voice of Ratchet in the first Ratchet and Clank game. And Mikey, I thought, did a great job. And I love Mikey like a brother. He was my Ninja Turtle brother in the TMNT movie. Right, let's see, does that show up there? Yeah, the poster right there. And he played Michelangelo, and he was perfect. Yeah, dude. And so, I don't have all the ins and outs of why the voice changed, but I've also been on that side of things before where I was the voice of something and then it got changed. So I remember there was a show called Randy Cunningham, Teenage Ninja. Originally, I did the voice. I think I recorded 4 or 5 episodes and then they replaced me. And so, that happens. You get replaced sometimes on things. That's never fun. And you don't ever want to be the person that comes in if it's awkward or anything. But Mikey and I are good friends and I love him. And I hope that there's no animosity. I know there's no animosity because we've talked about it before, but it's a bummer. I'm sure if you asked him, what do you think of Ratchet Clank? He'd be like, because it's no fun to get replaced. So that is the deal with Ratchet though. I've been Ratchet on, for 20 plus years and 20 games. And I'm very blessed to be the voice of Ratchet. I love Ratchet. The Flash, various versions of the Flash. I've been Lego Flash and regular Flash, and I love that. The Leader, look at the Leader from Hulk and the Agents of Smash. Yes, Hulk. That one was fun. We had so much fun at that. And Fred Tatasciore, Clancy Brown, Ben Diskin, myself, Roger Craig Smith was on there a lot. We had a good time doing voices on that show. And that's one of those ones I wish could have kept going. Same with Batman, the Brave and the Bold. I was Green Arrow. And I was Guy Gardner. And Guy Gardner was, he's kind of like Dennis Leary. That was really basically what I was doing. I was just basically doing Dennis Leary's voice, for that. He was kind of Guy Gardner's a Green Lantern, and so he was fun because I always loved, so my top 3 in DC as a kid were The Flash, Green Arrow, and Green Lantern. And then for Marvel, it was Spidey and then Nightcrawler from X-Men. And I love Cyclops as well from X-Men. I was a big X-Men fan. And I loved, it's funny because I read some Avengers and I read, some Iron Man and stuff. But it's so funny. When I was a kid, those ones weren't as popular. Now, of course, they've become so popular because of the movies. But yeah, I was big into, really, I think, X-Men. Oh, Fantastic Four, the Submariner, Moon Knight. Yeah. I had all sorts. I had the Indiana Jones comics. I still have. So they're all in another room over here, out through a door over there, and in my art studio right now. Actually, all my old comic books, and I have them. But so hey, if you are somebody that collected comics or anything, take a break at some point this week and go through and read some of them again. Kind of fun. You open them up, you smell the book, you get that feeling of like when you were a kid and it was so exciting unraveling these new stories and stuff. I love that stuff. So do something fun this week. Like I'm looking at all these characters and doing fun voices for y'all, I hope. And I hope that you're inspired, and I hope you subscribe to this channel. I hope you would like and share. And I'm trying to get to 100,000, here. Hopefully the algorithm picks me back up here at YouTube, and we get that pretty soon here. And if you also get a chance to go to my IMDb, check out my IMDb, look at all the various things you might see. You're going to see a lot of these characters in there, and you're going to be like, wow. So you'll look at my IMDb, and you'll get to see some of the characters I've been throughout my career as a voice actor. And I just thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with old JAT. Goodbye there.